Hey y'all, I'm Mayer Cunningham, the special education boss. If you've ever felt confused, overwhelmed, or just plain frustrated at the 504 IEP table, you are in the right place. Every week, I'm breaking down the rules, the rights, and the realities of special education so you can walk into meetings informed, empowered, and ready to make real change. And whether you're a parent, a teacher, an advocate, a school-based member, or somebody who's just trying to do right by a student, this podcast gives you straight talk, real answers, and tools that you can use immediately. I'm not here to play politics. I'm not here to play sides. I'm here to train people who sit at the table and teach you how to follow the law, ask the right questions, and protect the rights of students. So go ahead and hit subscribe, share this with a friend, and you know what? Meet me back here every single week. We're not just talking about change. We're making it. Because when you know better, you do better. And when we get it right for the child, we get it right for everybody. Hey guys, welcome to the show. We are so excited. We have an amazing guest here today, Mary Ann Hughes. She's a certified special needs divorce coach and the founder of Special Family Transitions. Mary Ann, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for Karen for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yes, I see you all the time we are at other events and on other, serving families. So tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to be a certified special needs divorce coach.
Sure, happy to. So I'm the mom of two now young adults on the autism spectrum, and I went through journey not just in special education and getting them through the school system and transitioning, but part of that transition was a transition when I had to face divorce, and that happened around the same time that my kids were transitioning from the end of high school to beyond, and so it became a life journey to do all kinds of transitions. And the journey itself took a lot of time, money, and effort. And given the prevalence of divorce among special needs families, I thought it was kind of silly to have people recreate the wheel and go through everything that I had to go through. So I decided at that point to start my own business for the first time and become what I'm now, a certified special needs divorce coach, and honored to help people before, during, and after divorce and transitions related to that to support them in their journey.
Awesome. I have a lot of background in that as well. I think the last time I checked, 88% of families have a child with a disability get divorced, which is just insane because you and I both know the last thing kids with exceptionalities need is more change. But kind of, rewinding a little bit, tell me about your boys and their IEP journey.
Yeah, so my sons are on opposite ends of the spectrum, or whatever language people like to use these days. For one has my older one has more challenges in terms of behaviors and language and sensory needs, and my younger one has different skills, but still different challenges that he faces. And so my younger one now is able to go to a college program that was designed for students with learning differences, and he's did great. And now he's actually starting a master's program. So just want to give parents hope that people do make a lot of progress, and with the right interventions and supports, that they can meet those kind of milestones. Now, my other son has come a long way as well, but he is in a day program. He'll never be able to attend higher education or have some kind of full-time job, maybe something with support, but his needs and his abilities are different. And I love them both dearly. They're both wonderful, but they have different abilities. And as much as we try, we can't change who they are. We could just do what we can to support them along the way.
That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about, obviously, I want to know in your IEP journey in schools, are you from the Houston area? Did your kids go to school here?
I am. I'm in Houston, and our whole journey was in Houston. So my kids attended both a combination of private and public school, mostly public. So I've experience with both. But yeah, so my younger son graduated at about 18. My other son stayed in through the transition program, so he got out when he was about 22 years old.
And so when they were in school, did you and your husband both go to meetings? Because often you and I know it's just the mom, or what was that like?
I think he came to the very first art meeting we had for my eldest son, and one meeting where I needed some sort of support because
Yeah.
it's not a pleasant situation. But other than that, I believe I was the only one really at the meetings, the one preparing for meetings, the ones advocating for my kids on a day-to-day basis with the school system. And so what I learned as my journey as an advocate for my kids at school is what helped me with skills with what do I do now, because it's the same kind of situation where we're advocating for our kids, we're our child's voice, and we're doing that whether it's in the school system or whether other life challenges that we face.
Right. And so you talked a little bit about transition. So obviously you had a pretty big hiccup during transition in the, um, dissolving of your marriage. Did that impact your boys in that transition period, or tell us about that?
Yeah, so I will say that it did have an effect on my kids, but I tried to minimize that effect it would have. I tried to find ways to share information with them, to support them, to reduce the level of anxiety, their confusion, and for all of us not knowing what was going to be happening next in our lives. And so I tried to find help, and it was really hard. I did ask people at the school, and I was given some resources, but not really ones that could really help support me. And so what I ended up doing is creating a social story. And I created that to support my kids, explain what was happening in a very positive tone. And I even shared that with the school. So my son, who was in a self-contained class, the teacher was great in autism class, and she helped read it and get him prepared for the first time he was going to go to dad's and have an overnight visit there, which was something that he's never been away from mom.
Yeah.
We've been on vacation, but that was when we were all together and we were in a familiar type setting, and I had prepared social stories for those type of adventures as well. And so that's what led me to create a social story, knowing that's how I prepared my kids for change and things that they could expect, whatever it might be.
Right. And were your boys were they already out of high school? So when I'm a mediator for the family court, so I help families with this a little bit. So was the schooling done with, or was it at the same time?
So we were still in school. So
Okay.
they're both technically both in high school at the time.
Okay. And so so you're in this place, you're getting a divorce. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so it was something that we didn't expect or see coming. And so yeah, we had to figure out what to do. And my approach in that was I'm going to do what I need to do to take care of my kids, make sure that their needs are going to be addressed, not just in divorce, but in the long term. So I saw this as what they call a life care plan, not just deal with the divorce and deal with other things later, but I really wanted to make sure that things I agreed to in divorce would really take into account what their needs were going to be um, emotionally as well as financially, right? Because I had been a stay-at-home mom for about 20 years since my kids both were diagnosed and getting the training as an advocate for them as well. And so we had the ability for my husband at the time to be the primary breadwinner. So I've got work background in the past. I've got an MBA and different things that I've done, but I were able to be able to stay home for my kids. And so as a result of that, I had to figure out, okay, well, what am I going to need in the future? Given that situation is probably not likely I'll be able to earn a large income in the near future. And so I took that very seriously. I kind of, in my past work, I kind of did things, and my ex used to joke that everything was a project for me, and this became my project. So I had to figure out, okay, what's it going to cost? What are the programs out there now that they're almost out of school? What's the next step? And so considering all those things as part of the discussion. So I had to start looking at and visiting different post-high school programs. So ranging from my one son for different maybe university programs, transition programs that provided support for him because he wasn't quite ready to go to a university without any kind of support to be successful. And then my other son, well, what was available for him given his abilities and things that he still needed to work on. And so at the time I visited some day programs and some different places, and the ones that were, I guess one of the, I guess you could say premier ones in terms of their reputation, he wasn't really a candidate for based on his current behaviors and challenges. And so then I had to start looking at other places, and those weren't really a place that I could see him being. Nothing against those, but they had maybe people who are 50 plus. I just didn't feel him that would be a good place for him. So now I will say the good news in that was that through the transition program that he was in at school, several years later that gave him the skills to be able to be accepted to the program that was a good fit for him. So and he's there now and doing really well. But yeah, part of that process and researching it was figure, okay, how much is it going to cost? What are the waiting lists? What do we need to start thinking about? And so all those discussions kind of were combined in my whole divorce discussions, and finally did get there and did a good result for my family. But it's something that requires work. And the advice I give to people is don't rush into anything. We want to really think this through. Whether it's a divorce or even, in your world when you're making plans for our children's education and their services.
Right. And as I don't know if it's just a female thing, Mary Ann, but when I found out I was getting divorced, which is what happened, I wanted it to be over. And I remember, I think I packed 37 boxes and put them in the driveway. And my dad had said, I think you're overreacting, of course. So then I yelled at him. Of course I'm overreacting. I just wanted it to be over. And I think, in what families that you deal with and I deal with, we have families that end up being divorced. And, we sort of know the standard, right? Somebody has custody, the other person pays child support, some health insurance, and then we're good to go. And really, you want to make sure that when you're writing that divorce decree, and we have so many, forms and things that are online, you can do it speedy. This is not a piece that you want to do speedily. And knowing, if you're listening, that your attorney general's office, even if you're already divorced and your child with a disability is a young person now, you can still go back to the attorney general's office and they can petition for that other party to continue paying child support. And so that was something you don't think of it when you have a 6 and an 8-year-old, you just want it to be over, right? And can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Now, I will say a divorce that involves special needs children, children with disabilities, definitely needs to be looked at differently, handled differently. So a lot of people don't know that you can receive what they call indefinite, meaning lifelong child support for someone, even when they're past 18. And so that's something to think about. And if you haven't done it or they weren't diagnosed, like you said, beforehand, you can always go back and make those modifications. And so there are certain thresholds you have to meet and so on. So you may have to prove your case depending on how the other parent sees it. And that's something common too, is that the other parent may not see the disability in the same way or acknowledge that. Part of that could be where they are in the grief cycle. Part of it is financially motivated. There's all kinds of reasons for that. But there's all things to take into account as you're working with an attorney or trying to figure out what to put in that divorce decree. And you have to be really careful to make sure that the money part is handled the correct way, because we don't want to inadvertently get disqualified for government benefits as a result of money the child may have in their name,
Right.
through whether it's through insurance, whether it's through child support and different things. So special needs estate planning attorneys can help set up those trusts, but the family law attorney is the one that needs to be sure that all those things are in that decree. And so I'm mentioning a lot of different people, but this is kind of a team effort, if you can do that. So in addition to myself being a divorce coach, help make people aware of these different things, there's also special needs financial planners and so on that can help people plan for the future.
Right. Even, one of the things I talk with the families who have children that I say are greatly impacted by their disability, even if they're 3, 4, and 5, I'm already talking to them about considering guardianship, because what is the phrase that the days are long and the years are quick? And next thing you know, we just wake up and we have a graduate, right? And so these are not things that you want to put off. And kind of like Mary Ann was saying, there's a way to do it correctly so that you maximize your young person's with a disability, his opportunities and the benefits that he can receive. I don't know about you, but it's rare that you would find the non-custodial parent or the parent that doesn't have the primary care excited about paying child support for perpetuity. But I was very excited when several of my families, I directed them to, we were in Texas, the Attorney General's office, and then they will do it on their behalf. You don't have to refile, because I think people get confused once they're aged out, right? It's not a custody issue anymore, but it's a long-term care. So tell us how you became, or how does somebody become a certified special needs divorce coach? Do you have to be divorced first?
You don't have to be. Actually, you can be someone who's either been divorced. We have in the program, so it's a certified divorce coach program, is the one that you have to go through the initial certification to be a certified divorce coach, and then a specialty that I actually help inspire and design and actually teach part of that program is a special needs divorce coach certification. And so, yeah, that can be anybody, whether they're been through divorce, whether you're lawyer, mediator, financial person, or just somebody who wants to help in that arena. Like you talked about, it's a very high percentage of people that go through this. People go through divorce very, it's a very common thing anyway, with at least 50%. But like you said, over in the 80s and so on. And
Yeah.
so a lot of people are overwhelmed with all the things they have to do and how to get through it for themselves and for their kids. And so, yeah, I'm honored to do this work now. It's like my new life's mission. Of course, taking care of my kids as well, but now helping others facing these challenges.
And so is this your company? Are you the one that certifies people? I know that when I got my mediation, I went to somebody that does that. Do you teach that as well? Is it your company?
No, it's not my company. So
Okay.
it's a company called Certified Divorce Coach that does those certifications, and it's definitely the premier organization that does credential certified divorce coaching. Anybody can call themselves a divorce coach, but there's certain organizations that will go through a very extensive program and give you certification that you have to renew and do ongoing learning and so on. So my company, Special Family Transitions, so it's more focused on working with families. So mostly I work with moms as a coach, and sometimes dads will reach out to me, and I'm happy to work with them as well. And sometimes I'll work with both together. And the way I do that is, as a coach, you have to have a relationship really just with one parent, unless both are agreeable, but usually it's with one parent to help them advocate for their needs and for their children and to help them through the process. I've also gone through training as a mediator and also as a parenting coordinator, so I can be neutral. I can help people facilitate their discussions and come to agreements as well, which then they can take to an attorney or whatever it might be once they have a good handle on what they need to be thinking about for their children. Because my approach is really centered around putting the child first. What do they need, and how can both parents support that?
Yeah, that's awesome. A couple of things that you said. We talk about when kiddos get to be young adults, right, and they're going to live for another 80 years. Sometimes I have families, and they'll have a child that is disabled, profoundly disabled, a cognitive difference, and they'll be saying when we're just doing preps for IEP meetings, "Oh, one of his sisters will take care of him." So while that sounds good for me, I think that's a huge burden to put on a sibling. And then I don't know that that sibling has the knowledge, the capacity, or because that would take over their whole life. And so when you're working on that, is that something that, because I think it's hard for parents to see in the future, is that something that you work with them as well?
Sure, yeah, all kinds of things. Because my children both have disabilities, but there are many families where maybe it's just one, and you have other neurotypical siblings or different situations. And so, yeah, we don't ever want to assume or put upon that those siblings that it's going to be their responsibility. I mean, they may choose to in the
Right.
future take an active role, but definitely when we're planning, we don't want to just use that as the basis for future planning, because I know. I know people who specialize in dealing with the siblings, and they're called glass children because their needs are not addressed. They're kind of sometimes overlooked in the whole family dynamics because the one child maybe needs more attention. Not that they're
Right.
loved less, but maybe they're perceiving things differently. So we don't want to perpetuate that and make that an ongoing um, challenge for them if that's not something that they want to do. Granted, it's great to have a loving support network, but definitely put plans in place so that it doesn't have to rely on that other
Right.
person.
So let me ask you a question. I am a huge proponent of guardianship for all the reasons. I'm a non-attorney advocate, but it protects so many pieces. One of the things I hear, and you might have heard when your kids were in school, is this huge push for supported decision making. And so I am not a fan of that because I don't know where you would go and hold that piece of paper at the bank, or you're a realtor or buying a car, but I think people, there's so much push for it, even at IEP meetings. It's just a piece of paper. It's good till the child tears it up. So, do you help families with supported decision making or helping them towards guardianship? And what would be the difference?
So I can help them have those discussions. I'm not an expert in that, so definitely I would refer them to a estate planning attorney who can create those documents if need be. But definitely, there are some kids turning 18 that definitely do need guardianship. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of a no-brainer, in those respects. But it does cost money. Some people hesitate to do that because they don't have the funds. There are ways to reduce that cost, to find other agencies and organizations to support that. But some people don't know. Also, you can do partial guardianship if you're not, for some reason, comfortable having a full guardianship, taking all your child's rights away, which in effect that's what you're doing. Because they're not able to make those decisions. You can have maybe partial for just financial or partial for just
Right.
medical, as opposed to taking the right to marry and vote and those kind of things as well.
Right.
So there's that. There's power of attorneys, agreements that you can do, but that child has to be able to understand the contracts. And so
Yes.
once you do that, it's hard to go back maybe and then decide to do a
Right.
guardianship. Now there is support decision making, like you said, and that's for someone maybe if they're not sure which way they want to go. If they're not sure their child needs guardianship, maybe that's kind of an interim thing to do, but definitely, have talked to professionals about those different options. Agencies that I've talked to and worked with, some of them are not proponents of guardianship initially if you're not really sure that's what that person might need, but it's a case by case decision on what's best for your family.
Right. And so when if somebody was reaching out and works with you, is it a number of sessions? Is it like when I go to a marriage counselor, do we just stay with Mary Ann as long as we need it? What does that look like?
Yeah, so right now it's really flexible. So I've do it by hours, number of hours in a package, and so on that you can do. But I'm going to try to do something more solution oriented, try to get them to a certain goal. That's my something I'm working on to make it maybe a program with ongoing support and so on. So I'm flexible. So it really depends on what that person needs. I don't have like prescribed days and times for people to meet. Some people like to meet, like I've got a client recently that she wants to meet once a week, but I have some clients who maybe once every few months is sufficient. So it really depends on what's going on in their situation and where I can be of support.
Right. I always say when you have a child with a disability, once you get something handled, something else pops up, right? Because you're humans, right? Medical, emotional, spiritual, behavioral, all those pieces. And then I'm just ask one more question about you said that one of your children is in a day program. So does he live there? Do you drive him there every day? Tell us what that looks like.
Yeah, it's like school. It's like a school day. So
Okay.
he's basically there between 8:30 and 3:30, and so he gets dropped off. He has a great day. He's in the community. He's learning things. They go on outings. They do volunteer work. He's learning different skills, and then he comes home. And so, but you raise a great point. Is what's going to happen in the future, and it's hard to know that right now at this point. Yeah, he's not ready and I'm not ready yet for him to do a residential program, but in the future that may need to happen. There's somebody recently who I know, and I saw her post about her now starting to look for that because there comes a time where for whatever reason we may have health issues or our kids' behaviors are more than we can handle. That is maybe the right answer. So it's never an easy process, but definitely like I did for my research for these different programs, you want to start researching that, seeing what's going to be a good fit, what you're comfortable with, and what then how you're going to pay for that. Hopefully, people are on the waiver lists, and that can help support them. But there are private places as well, and so we have to figure out how we're going to pay for those kind of places.
And so when you said that about paying for it and I think people have, what we don't know, we don't know. I think people think of it like a nursing home and the state pays for that or the government pays for that. Is that something that can be paid for by their benefits if they have, all government support?
So it depends on the program and the benefit and the place that you're looking at. So
Okay.
some will take some funding and some will not.
Okay.
But there are places, like you said, that the state will take no matter what, but um, those may not be places that you're comfortable with for your
Right.
child.
Absolutely. So, Marianne, how can people reach out to you? Because I probably could have made a lot better decisions. My divorce was like a really bad scar, and it's just been sewn up. But it's not like you can call somebody and go, "I'm getting divorced, and I have a child with disability, and I'm trying to act normal through it." So, how do people reach out to you?
Yeah, that's exactly what I do. Is I help in those kind of cases as well as whether they're might conflict, or they want to be amicable, or whatever it might be. And so the best way to reach me is my website, specialfamilytransitions.com. I have a contact form with a form they can fill out, and also links to my social media. I try to share information as much as I can. I know you do a great job of that, but I try to share. I hope to do more on my personal Facebook as well, which is Mary Ann Hughes, but also all my Special Family Transitions platforms. And I do have a YouTube channel where I do share information. A lot of wonderful podcasts like yours, where I have a playlist of a lot of ones I've been on, so people can learn about some different areas that may be of interest to them. And I also have something that some of your viewers may be interested in that maybe aren't going through divorce but are transitioning. So I did some videos on some post-high school programs. Part of it was inspired by my searching. And so I have several universities that are listed there, different types of programs that are certificate as well as degree seeking students. And so I have a playlist of those videos as well.
Oh, awesome. Well, I think you're just a delight. If you are a school district or a special needs entity and you have events, certainly reach out to Mary Ann. She's an amazing keynote speaker as well. Thank you for sharing your story. I think what's great about kind of what all of us do is we didn't waste our struggle. We didn't waste our pain. And it is the most, we're not really a connected group. I think the best thing about the pandemic and social media is now we can be a group together, because people that have a child with disability are just trying to get through Thursday. And so thank you for what you do. Thank you for taking this calling and serving families that definitely need you. And so you guys reach out to her. We'll put her link below, but specialfamilytransitions.com. Mary Ann Hughes, thank you for being on the show. Remember, when we get it right for the child, we get it right for everybody. If we can do anything for you, just reach out to us at Special Education Academy, and we will see you guys in the next training. Hit subscribe, share this with a friend, and you know what? Meet me back here every single week. We're not just talking about change, we're making it. Because when you know better, you do better. And when we get it right for the child, we get it right for everybody.